When did you gravitate into the goals? How old were you?
I was 10 years old. So I was basically, my best mate at the time was my next door neighbour, and his father had a bit of background in football also, playing at a bit of a level growing up. So from quite a young age, he had 3 other brothers as well. So he had them going down the park and doing extra training and all that. And he was a striker, and the other boys were attackers and all that as well. So they were doing drills that he made up for them, and they needed a goalkeeper. And I was like, I was a bit of a, why not attitude, go down, I'll give things a go. And went down, I used to jump in goal. And in that same year, he took his son away from the team we were playing in to start playing a representative team at a higher level. And I just continued playing local park football. And halfway through the season, their goalkeeper, their family up and left and moved interstate. And he come to me and goes, we need a goalkeeper. I've seen you, obviously, when you've been training with my boy, you want to come along. And basically I went along to the session, and I look back now, it's probably a little bit naive, but the coach asked me, he goes, where's your, because I only came down with like the warm, like mitten gloves, that's all I had. And he asked me, it's like,
pretty hardcore.
He goes, where's your goalkeeper gloves? And it was probably naive of me to say, my mum said she'll buy me a pair if I make the team. So, but funnily enough, after that session, he said, "Yep, you're in. You're part of the team." So
that was that pivotal moment in your life,
crazy.
then, really,
That's
when you look back, you think if your friends didn't ask you to come down and just be the token goalkeeper while they practice their striking, you might not have been here.
No, you're Australia's number 1.
Yeah, I know. It's funny how obviously journeys play out and whatnot, but that's where mine started with the goalkeeping. So
yeah, what other sports did you play as a kid?
Probably the 2 sports I grew up playing competitively, most competitive, was football and tennis.
Mm-hmm. What position were you in footy?
I like to play 5'8".
Ooh, you'd have been a crafty 5'8", I reckon.
Yeah,
pretty elusive.
Because obviously I had the soccer and the footwork and all that. They used to just sort of give me the ball, and I used to do a couple of footwork, side steps type of thing, and get them out of trouble and run the field and score a few tries. So.
Big 5'8", though. How tall are you?
Me, I'm 6 foot now.
Were you tall when you were a kid?
Not back then. I was a late bloomer,
Yeah.
So, I mean, people don't see me as being tall as it is as a goalkeeper. It's just lucky, I guess, that you guys are a little bit shorter than myself,
Well, Hal's a late bloomer too. He's only 12. He's already 7'2". So, yeah, he's got some growing to do.
Still growing.
I seen him this morning. I was thinking, who's this man baby, So.
So that was your first sort of foray into like representative football at a local level. How did you go from that as a youngster to was your first break the Mariners? Would you call that your first sort of decent break in footy?
Yeah, well, that was my first professional club. So in terms of wanting to take the step into a professional, first step in my dream of what I wanted to be doing, then yeah, they gave me my first chance at that.
So how does that scouting process come about? How do you just get a call one day hey, move to the Central Coast?
Yeah, so basically I grew up playing my junior football in representative level at Blacktown City. My goalkeeper coach at that time at Blacktown City ended up being the goalkeeper coach at the Mariners also. And I'd played 1 year in the youth team at the Mariners, played all my juniors growing up, like I said, and got to that age where I could play the youth team, under 20s it was. Played 1 year there, and then it just worked out that another goalkeeper took another opportunity at a different club to want to play first team football, and that opened the door for a position to be available, and I got notified that they wanted to select me to fulfill that position. And then a bit like a Stephen Bradbury ice skating Olympics moment, the first team goalkeeper that was signed at the time in that pre-season where I'd signed wanted to try go overseas and made a move to go overseas. So that opened up a door there. They signed another experienced goalkeeper that was over in Europe that came back to Australia at that time to play. In the third game of the season, he'd done his cruciate ligament. And funnily enough, the goalkeeper that left in the pre-season, his deal fell through in Turkey, some discrepancies with the contracts and all that. And it actually, a week before that, had signed at a rival team here in the A-League, Dani Vukovic, and they weren't able to sign anyone else, so they were sort of left with me, had to throw me in the deep end. And
how nervous were you, first stepping up?
Yeah.
Were you were the nerves a thing?
Oh, definitely, mate. The first game I was playing Aussie Stadium, Sydney FC, and that's obviously one of the most renowned stadiums here in Australia. And you know, as a young kid with no experience playing in a professional game, you know, all the TV cameras around and all that, you know, like, oh, you know, I'm not. This isn't just being watched by a bunch of people, you know, in a park anymore. All of a sudden, there's 20,000, 15,000 people here in the stadium watching. Plus, it's on TV. Oh, if I make a mistake, I'm going to look like an idiot.
The pressure on a goalie, you know, anybody else makes a mistake, it's like a goalie makes a mistake, it's a goal.
Which is the reason why I've come to love the position.
Yeah.
Like, it's one of the
pressure.
positions in sport where your margin for error is so minimal, if any. If you know, you could make 10 great saves in a game, you make one mistake, and that's what everyone remembers the game for. So it's almost like a position within the sport, whereas you have to play a perfect game in order to be considered to have had a good game. And I'm a perfectionist in a lot of aspects in my life, and I think that stems right up into, you know, my life as a goalkeeper.